This is CNN Breaking News.
Hello everyone, I'm Zain in New York.
And I'm Max Foster outside the British Houses of Parliament.
We begin with drama unfolding in British politics after a chaotic 6 weeks in Downing Street. Liz Truss says that she is stepping down as Prime Minister. Here's how today's stunning announcement sounded in front of Number 10.
I came into office at a time of great economic and international instability. Families and businesses were worried about how to pay their bills. Putin's illegal war in Ukraine threatens the security of our whole continent, and our country has been held back for too long by low economic growth. I was elected by the Conservative Party with a mandate to change this. We delivered on energy bills and on cutting national insurance. And we set out a vision for a low-tax, high-growth economy that would take advantage of the freedoms of Brexit. I recognise, though, given the situation, I cannot deliver the mandate on which I was elected by the Conservative Party. I have therefore spoken to His Majesty the King to notify him that I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party. This morning I met the chairman of the 1922 committee, Sir Graham Brady. We've agreed that there will be a leadership election to be completed within the next week. This will ensure that we remain on a path to deliver our fiscal plans and maintain our country's economic stability and national security. I will remain as Prime Minister until a successor has been chosen. Thank you.
And with that statement, Liz Truss became the shortest-serving British Prime Minister in history. The race is on in terms of who is going to replace her. The head of the Conservative 1922 committee, which oversees Tory leadership contests, says that a new Prime Minister should be in place before the end of the month. We're also hearing from sources that Boris Johnson, who left Number 10 in disgrace for basically breaking his own laws, may decide to stand again as Prime Minister. My colleague Max Foster is standing by in Westminster. So, Max, this is unprecedented. We've seen the third British Prime Minister in about 3 months. If we take stock at what has happened over the past 24 hours, there were suggestions, of course, that this was coming, but it is still extraordinary, Max.
Yeah, it's absolute chaos, carnage. You know, it's not just this premiership. Also, Boris Johnson's one, of course, was highly contentious in many ways, and there's a huge amount of concern about how he handled his role, and he got forced out. And before him, Theresa May as well. Many people say she ended up leaving in disgrace, although she did at least respect many of the parliamentary processes that you do have to go through. But 3 premierships, which many people describe as, you know, difficult times for the UK, although many people will certainly point to Boris Johnson's premiership and say he had some really big historic moments. But this last one with Liz Truss cannot be seen as any sort of success, and will certainly go down in the history books as for all the wrong reasons. Scott McLean has been in Downing Street all day. You know, you were there very early on, Scott. Was there any indication the day would end up like this?
Well, certainly yesterday, Max, was a pretty chaotic scene. Then it seemed like there was some pressure that had been building on Liz Truss, considering just how chaotic the whole situation had seemed. We knew of a handful of MPs who had submitted letters to that 1922 committee of backbench MPs chaired by Sir Graham Brady, and so that, though, in the grand scheme of things, was a relatively small number of people. But there were other MPs who were very openly saying that, look, what happened in the House of Commons yesterday or in the Houses of Parliament should not have happened either, and there ought to be an investigation. What I'm referring to is the bullying and the shouting and, according to opposition lawmakers, in some cases the physical manhandling of Conservative MPs in order to get them to vote with the government on a Labour motion related to fracking. There was also the resignation of the Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, yesterday, and in her resignation letter, she was very critical of Liz Truss and suggested in a not-so-blunt way that Truss ought to follow her out the door. And so it seemed like the Prime Minister, even though she managed to survive Prime Minister's questions yesterday, it seemed like she just could not manage to catch a break, and there wasn't a whole lot of room left for her to run. And you can imagine her doing the sort of the political calculation after meeting with Sir Graham Brady and imagining that, look, even if she could survive a potential Conservative Party leadership challenge, it would be very, very difficult, Max, for her to govern in any kind of effective way.
OK, Scott in Downing Street, thank you. It's no surprise the British opposition leader pounced on the Prime Minister's resignation. Of course, Labour's Keir Starmer tweeted the British people deserve more than what he calls a revolving door of chaos. He's calling for a general election to give the country a fresh start. Starmer adds the Tories don't have a mandate to put the country through another, quote, experiment. The rules for selecting the Conservative Party's leader are set by the 1922 committee. They're a group of lawmakers who aren't ministers in the government, but the chairman of the group says he wants the process to be quick.
How disappointed are you in this? This is the third Prime Minister in 4 months. The public must be looking at this thinking, what on earth is going on? This is the governing party.
Absolutely.
And they are not running the country.
And I think we're deeply conscious of the imperative in the national interest of resolving this clearly and quickly.
Well, he adds the party should have a leader in place before the end of the month. But with the Conservative Party in chaos, it's not clear how the leadership contest will play out. Just who are some of the top contenders? Well, the man who resigned in disgrace just a few months ago may throw his hat into the ring. Multiple allies of former Prime Minister Boris Johnson say he could be a unity candidate. The former Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rishi Sunak, could get a second life. He predicted some of the challenges Truss would face, including those unfunded tax cuts and the implications for mortgage rates. Leader of the House of Commons, Penny Mordaunt, is also a key figure. She came third in the last leadership election. Also a contender, Kemi Badenoch, who came in fourth, one of the younger MPs running. She was rated as a favourite by pollsters. Finally, let's not rule out Suella Braverman, the former Home Secretary, who resigned and launched a blistering attack on Truss's leadership.